en manos del ejército colombiano.
My son was murdered by the Colombian army on the 8th of February 2008.
Donde son sacados 3 chicos del municipio por un soldado profesional.
Where him, along with 2 other boys from our municipality, were taken from the municipality by a professional soldier.
Este soldado profesional les ofrece un trabajo en la ciudad de Manizales.
This professional soldier offered them some paid work in the city of Manizales,
donde prácticamente fueron llevados allá a la muerte 2 de estos chicos, mi hijo y el amigo. Uno de estos 3 chicos se salva.
where they were taken to their death. My son and another one of the boys, the 3rd boy actually managed to escape.
Esta historia da como un giro, digo yo que un giro porque en el batallón que fue asesinado mi hijo había un sobrino de mi esposo.
There was a twist of fate in this case, whereby by coincidence a soldier in the battalion which committed the murder happened to be a nephew of my husband.
Donde yo les cuento todo lo que él nos narró con respecto a estos 2 asesinatos. Él nos dice que esa noche del asesinato el capitán del ejército los separó, dijo que los que eran del valle para este lado y los que no para este otro lado.
This nephew of my husband told us everything which happened that night regarding the 2 murders, and he told us how the commandant of the battalion on the night of the murder separated the battalion into 2 different groups. So one group of them who were from the Valle region and the others who weren't.
Los de este lado derecho, digo yo, eran los que iban a asesinar pues a estos chicos. El sobrino dice que al otro día siguiente que pues se unieron, ya juntaron todos los militares. Uno de sus compañeros le muestra la cédula de mi hijo y le dice que esa noche habían asesinado a 2 guerrilleros y uno se había escapado.
The 2 groups, one of them went off and committed the murder. Our nephew was in the other group, and when the whole battalion came back together the next morning, he was speaking to one of his colleagues who had been in the group which had committed the murder, and he was told, oh, we killed 2 guerrillas last night, 2 guerrilla fighters, and he showed the ID card of one of the supposed guerrilla fighters to him.
Él inmediatamente le quita la cédula al compañero y sube donde está el comandante.
He realized immediately that the ID card was that of his cousin, and he took it from him and went immediately to speak to the commandant of the battalion.
Le dice que no le gustaron las bajas que dieron la noche anterior. Este comandante le pregunta que por qué. Él le dice porque uno de los asesinados es mi primo.
He told him that he didn't like the murders which had been committed the night before. And the commandant asked him why, and he told him because one of them was my cousin.
Este comandante lo que hace es decirle a él que con quién ha hablado, que se quede callado, y le dice que le va a dar una licencia y le ofrece un dinero para que vaya hasta mi casa y me lleve un mercado.
He asked him who he had spoken to, and our nephew said nobody, and the commandant told him to keep quiet, and he gave him a week release and gave him some money and said go and buy some shopping and take it to the family.
Sale el sobrino del batallón, un compañero lo llama como a los 20 minutos y le dice que por favor se cuide porque la orden del capitán es matarlo dentro o fuera del batallón.
Our nephew left the battalion and within 20 minutes received a phone call from one of the other soldiers who told him to please be careful because the commandant had given the order for him to be killed either inside or outside of the battalion.
Pues el sobrino llega 8 días después de haber enterrado a estos chicos, a mi hijo y a este chico. pues él tuvo que esconderse alrededor de 2 meses, el cual se hizo conexión con Sandra Zuluaga, quien estaba al frente de la investigación del asesinato de estos chicos, y en estos momentos él y el chico que sobrevivió están en protección a testigo.
Our nephew took around a week to arrive to us because he was so scared to come to our house. He arrived a week after we had already buried our son and the funeral of the other boy. He then had to go into hiding for 2 months when he was being looked for by the battalion, until he was able to get in touch with Sandra Zuluaga, who was the state prosecutor who was investigating the case, and he was then put into the state witness protection program where he has been ever since.
Lo que ha avanzado este caso, se ha dado condena a 42 y 43 años a 7 militares.
To give an up-to-date on where the case is now, there has been a sentence of between 42 and 43 years given to 7 soldiers who participated in the murder.
El juez autoriza que paguen en una cárcel normal, pero estos militares son llevados a un pabellón militar.
The judge ordered for these soldiers to be sent to a normal civilian jail, but instead they were sent to military barracks.
En este pabellón militar, estos militares gozan de permisos de 12 horas, 24 horas, 36 horas y 72 horas. Ustedes se pueden imaginar unas personas que han cometido un delito como ese, y que no es el único caso que este ejército cometió, en la calle, pues como si no hubieran cometido nada.
In this military installation, they are given periods of release for good behavior for periods of 12, 24, 36 or even up to 72 hours, where they are able to roam the streets freely. You can imagine yourselves what crimes they are capable of when they are out on these periods of release, especially since some of them have been previously accused of human rights violations or other human rights violations.
Pues a partir de ahí empieza digámoslo así, el sufrimiento para Alfamir y para su familia. Pues ha recibido, creo que más de 15 amenazas de muerte por visibilizar estos asesinatos de estos 2 chicos, por comprobar con muchas pruebas, cantidades de pruebas, creo que más de 60, donde ellos fueron los que los asesinaron. No solamente los asesinaron, sino que también los torturaron.
And from the moment that the court case started, that was where the suffering started for myself and my family. I've received more than 15 death threats for making visible and speaking out about these crimes that were committed, and the strong evidence which exists. There are more than 60 pieces of strong evidence to show that they not only murdered my son and his friend, but they were also tortured.
Se han hecho cantidades de amenazas por vía telefónica, celular. Les diré pues como las más contundentes que he sufrido últimamente.
So we've had a huge amount of threats, and as well as phone calls, physical threats. I'm going to tell you just the worst of them, which have happened more recently.
Tuve que salir desplazada de mi municipio en diciembre del 2011 porque un tipo en una moto viniendo con un vecino del parque de recoger un dinero sacó un revólver y me iba a asesinar. Pues este señor en la moto donde yo iba pues frenó y el tipo siguió de largo, pero sin embargo 10 minutos después nos siguió hasta la casa.
I was displaced from my home in Pradera in December 2011 after an incident when I was traveling on the back of a neighbor's motorbike, and a man with a gun came up alongside us and pointed a gun at me. He was going to kill me. The neighbor who was driving slammed the brakes on the motorbike, and we were able to turn around. But 10 minutes later, the man appeared again and chased us back to my house.
Igualmente, en octubre del 2012, iba hacia la ciudad de Cali, se sube una persona con chaqueta negra, se sienta al lado donde iba yo y saca un revólver y me lo coloca y me dice que me voy a morir yo y también los abogados, ¿no?
Also, in October 2012, I was on a bus in Cali when a man in a black jacket got onto the bus, sat next to me and put a gun to my chest and told me that they are going to kill me and also the lawyer involved in the case.
En diciembre sale un panfleto donde están en lista a todas las personas que van a asesinar, donde lo firma Águilas Negras. La primera en la lista es Alfamir.
Also, just in December last year, a leaflet came out signed by the Águilas Negras, the Black Eagles paramilitary group, with a long list of people and organizations who they are targeting for assassination, and my name was first on the list.
Nos dan hasta el 2 de diciembre para salir del municipio. Alfamir en el mes de agosto debe regresar nuevamente a su municipio después de estar 8 meses fuera porque ya no puede pagar un arriendo, la situación se vuelve difícil, no hay pues un empleo donde se decide regresar. Mi esposo es operado de columna, es un cortero de caña y es operado de columna y nos quedaba muy difícil vivir en Cali. Cali es una ciudad un poco costosa.
On the 2nd of December, we were out of our municipality and we weren't living in Pradera. We were displaced for 8 months, but in August last year, because of the economic situation facing our family and the fact we couldn't afford to pay rent, we had to go back and leave Cali and go back to Pradera because we didn't have employment, and my husband had to have an operation on his spine because of an injury from cutting sugarcane. We found that we had no other option despite the danger which it represents for us to be in Pradera.
2 semanas antes de viajar acá, nos tocó con mi hija ir hasta Cali. Ella se debía sacar unos exámenes y era muy madrugada y nos vamos de regreso tipo 6:30 de la mañana. Nos encontramos con una camioneta 4x4 donde salen 2 tipos, una de ellas armada, y uno de ellos pues nos iba a raptar. Nosotras lo que hicimos, mi hija se asustó mucho y me agarraba durísimo: mami, corramos.
And just 2 weeks before coming here, I was in Cali with my daughter who needed some medical tests, and we were standing waiting for a bus when 2 men got out of a 4x4 car, one of whom had a gun. The other one came towards us and tried to grab us. We were both very scared. My daughter said, "Mommy, let's run," and we managed to escape on a passing bus.
Son todas estas series de amenazas que ha sufrido no solo Alfamir, sino también su familia por visibilizar un asesinato que lo hizo el ejército por subir de rango. Ahorita el 19 de marzo hay una imputación de cargos contra 2 altos militares, el cual se le imputan cargos porque pagaron un dinero por estos asesinatos, por estos 3 asesinatos.